Hey there friends, what's up? Kevin here from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing the debut EP from one of my favorite chord progression podcast bands of all time, hailing from Del Rio, Texas. This is our review of Dog Days by Expecting Perfection. Before we get started though, please follow MSOTD Rocks on places like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On all those platforms, you'll get the 30-second Song of the Day feature, which is a new song every single day from some of the heavy hitters in the scene, along with the emerging upcoming bands as well. So you can expand your musical horizons, connect with people that like the same kind of music that you do, and just enjoy. You can also connect with us on all those platforms as well, as we announce anytime anything comes out. We ask you a bunch of different questions on those platforms. It's a great way to connect with us. On Instagram as well, we have our IGTV video series, which is behind the scenes look of what's going on here every single Tuesday night around nighttime-ish, and every single Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central. We go live on Instagram for you to ask us questions, get in a conversation with us, and just see what the heck happens. Please also subscribe to this YouTube channel, because not only do you get these album reviews or EP reviews, you get many other things, such as you can check out our year-end awards from 2020 and also 2019 and 2018 as well. We have different top 10 lists, different videos about emerging bands in the scene today, along with our favorite series, the Kevin Figures Out series, where I go through and try to figure out if I like certain bands or not that I'm not that well versed in. This year I've already done bands like Diamante, Paris, and Spirit Box, so check those out. This is also where the Chord Progression podcast lives as well. It is our very own podcast. We're interviewing all the upcoming bands in the scene and have had some heavy hitters on there as well. We've had bands such as Seasons, From Ashes to New, Modern Day Escape, Kingdom Collapse, Throw the Fight, Kill the Lights, GFM, you name it, we've had them, and we are bringing on even more. And it's a type of conversation you're not going to get anywhere else. You can watch all those podcasts right here on YouTube, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and iHeart. Link scripted below for everything. So like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Now let's go! So a little bit of background on Expecting Perfection for you guys that don't really know the band very well. They were formed back in 2014, and I found out about them as they submitted their stuff for a small band Saturday feature. We were doing small band Saturday features. Now it's all podcast Saturday features. So any bands on the podcast have their stuff played on Saturday. And back in June of 2020, I was in a pinch to get a podcast up because we had some difficulties, and these guys stepped up to the plate and really helped me out, and we had a fantastic time on that interview where I found out two things about the band. One, they were able to do a shotgun contest during the podcast. First time that's ever happened. And Dead Boy even told me a story about him jumping off a roof in Mexico and landing in a pool just because, and the video's in that podcast as well. In July or August, so they released the song June Lied, and I think it might have been June though, but they released the song June Lied, which is on this EP as well, and it was our song of the summer here at MSOTD Rocks because it was so much fun to listen to. It had a great sound to it. We'll go even more in depth with it because it's on the EP, and I just thought it was fantastic. Plus, in January 2021, on a live stream, Dead Boy let us know that there's new Expecting Perfection music to come out, and that's what we're doing the review now. And they're going to be on the podcast right before the EP comes out on February 26th. So here's our review. Watch the podcast on the 25th, I believe, or the 24th. I can't remember what day. I think the 25th, though. But enough with that. Let's go. So starting out with the composition, construction, instrumentation on Dog Days, what I was curious to see was what Expecting Perfection was going to end up doing, because especially with them playing around some different sounds, with this being their big debut EP, I was curious to see what they were going to come up with. And what I found out was they had this very loose pop punk sound to their core. And what I liked about this was they were able to experiment with many different things because it's loose, but you're able to go off many different ways. Maybe some post-hardcore style, maybe some metalcore style, maybe some emo, maybe more into that like polished punk Rise Against style that I absolutely love. And they ended up taking some of this and really diving deep into it. And did this work out? This absolutely worked out for them, and the reason is because when they were able to play around with that loose pop punk sound at the core, again, they kind of kept sometimes more going towards that pop punk sound. Maybe they brought a little bit more of that emo in there. There's one song they brought in more of that polished punk Rise Against sound, and what they ended up doing was they ended up understanding the construction behind it, how to bring in their bass pop punk sound that's loose, into this. It really makes sure every song sounds connected within expected perfection, but really shows the range that this band can go with overall. So when it comes to the composition, construction, instrumentation, I mean, this is really phenomenal with how it's done, but let's take a look at some examples for you to really understand this. Take a look at the song June Live. We're really focusing on that pop punk flavor, but it really has times where the drums are a little bit more melodic and the guitars have this rougher distortion on it, which allows the band to really bring out this pop punk flavor in terms of the pace of the overall song. But what this absolutely does is it shows that they can play this rougher sound, they can bring a little bit more of a darker theme to it at the same time as well, but also give a highly energetic song at the same time. This was really done well. Again, it was our song of the summer pick. What do you expect? Then in the song If I Had the Nerve, they end up going with this very heavy like pop punk style guitar lick right in the intro. And the intro is really long as well, which is actually really cool on this one. It's about 45 seconds. But then the drum beat also kind of brings up this like more emo tone to it. So you're able to get this highly energetic song, but you're going to see where it's going to go. Could it go more pop punk? Could it go more emo? And end up going towards more the emo side, especially when you get into the verses. In the verses, the guitars play more of this elongated melodic sound, while the drums are really the ones that are packing the punch here with a more rapid tone. But then when you get to the chorus, you get this more pop punk there with that guitar distortion once again, and it being more prominent with the drums really going more melodic at this point. This is something that's really cool because you're able to mix more of this emo tone, this pop punk tone, all in at the same time. It really does work out well for the band, and this is a great song to go off with. I have to talk about the song Dog Days as well, because they really took this style that was very similar to Rise Against Siren songs and the counterculture out back in 2004. And this is going to be really interesting to see how they play off this, because it's going to have this heavier punk distortion to it. It's going to have a little more pace to it. But what it's also going to do is going to have that polished punk sound that's really going to make it stand out in terms of like a Rise Against inspired song. And did this work? Absolutely. What they're able to use this rougher distortion on the guitar to really penetrate within you, especially when it's working within a harder kind of tone and just a faster paced out. The drums, even working with more melodic tone at times as well, really do let this play off well, because it lets the guitar really sink in, but also the drums that contrast against it. They also times where they really mix this over as well, where they really kind of just draw this out a little bit more, so you do get a little bit of a break in there from the heaviness, but just how many things they mix in there, from the verses to the chorus to the instrumental breaks to the outro. This song is so full of all this great Rise Against inspired style stuff that, I mean, you take a look and think about, you know, the best stuff off of Siren songs in the counterculture. This is where it resides. Like, they really hit this well with the construction. Now, does this not work out at times? Yes, it doesn't work out at times, and where one point this happens is in the song The Better Half. When you take a look at the difference between the verse and the chorus, the transition is really what stands out here as the part where I'm like, maybe not. With the chorus, we get another new mix here with the drums getting a lot harder along with the guitar tone, but they play with this more melodic, heavy style. And, you know, this one kind of threw me off a little bit just because it felt like this transition from the verses, in which the verse had more of this pop punk flavor, a little bit more of this emo flavor to them at the exact same time as well, a little bit more upbeat in tempo. They just really didn't transition this very well, so that this chorus seemed forced. Again, this is more nitpicky because the chorus actually doesn't sound too bad, just because you can feel that it didn't really necessarily like transition well from one to the other. It just didn't work out the best. Overall, though, when it comes to the composition, construction, and instrumentation on the Dog Days EP, my God, expected perfection to really understand how to take that loose pop punk sound to their core, mix more of a pop punk flavor and emo flavor, even more of that polished punk Rise Against style flavor, and just really create something that was fantastic. Was that a little bit nitpicky at points? Yes, but for the overall part of it, my God, this is awesome. When it comes to the vocals, though, especially from Luis, what I was hoping from him on this EP was, especially with how great the composition, construction, and instrumentation on these songs were, to not really mess this up, to really let the instrumentals flow. And in essence, this is what Luis really did. The vocal range might be a little bit more limited on this overall, but what it did best was to really complement what the instrumentals were doing and let them take the full force of the influence here and really let you feel the sound and meaning of the EP through that. This was actually really cool in my opinion, and it worked out really well. So let's take a look at a couple examples. Now we're going to go to June Live. When you take a look at the vocals on this song, Luis had more of this concentrated yet playful kind of tone with his vocals, and this really did work out well, especially in the verse and a little bit more in the chorus, where it's a little bit more drawn out, a little more melodic, a little bit more powerful with the vocal set, because even though it's more drawn back at the same time, the instrumentals really let this take stride. In the pre-chorus though, there is a line in the second pre-chorus is, "Well, I'm not sorry that you cheated, I'm just sorry that he's not me." Ari, that is one of the best lines I've heard in 2020. One of the best lines I've heard ever in a song. And the chanting style vocal that you guys had in the pre-chorus, whew! Oh yeah, that was sick. Then we take a look at the song We'll Be Fine, where in the verses, Luis uses more of this like downtrodden emo approach, which I really do like because it really kind of brings in more of this emo feel to the song, and it lets the instrumentals stand out with a little bit more of that emo drive. As the pre-chorus comes in, yes, he still has the kind of that more downtrodden tone, but the vocals are starting to amp up a little bit more. So we're starting to get this great transition to the chorus, where Luis is going to go with this more full style, like emo but hard rock style. Very similar to what I think like with Taking Back Sunday, and I love how this works out here because it fits so well in with the song's instrumentation that this just stands out as a full song. This is great. Now we have to go to Dog Days, and this is one of my favorites as well because what Luis does to start out the song with the chorus is go with this rougher tone, but it's a little bit, more in that limited vocal range, but it's a little bit more vocal as well, and this works off somewhat the heavier the style of the polished punk siren songs, the counterculture rise against inspired theme. When we get into the verses, then Luis goes back to that melodic singing style he has, match up more with melodic drumming here, and I've seen this happen a lot of times with Rise Against song as well, where Tim McElrath is the master of this, and understanding how that works really let this song play out incredibly well, especially in the verses. Then in the bridge, Luis uses this more straightforward vocal style here, and it has some more anger behind it, but it just matches up so well with that Rise Against tone. I can't get enough of it. Like, this is fantastic. Are there any misses though on this one? And yeah, there kind of is, and I would have to go back to the better half on this one as the only real miss here. When we get to the chorus, Luis plays more of this full sound, more pace, and really matches up with the drumming. And while I know this is constructed this way, again, it's just how this transitions from the verse to the chorus on this one. That transition just seems forced and kind of unnatural at this point. I'm always a huge proponent of letting the song write itself instead of trying to force something in there, and we can always tell. This does fit though with the overall style, however, it just seems forced. So overall, when it came to Luis's vocals, he understood how to match up with the overall stylings of the writing and the construction of the instrumentation on these songs, and really understood how to maximize that overall sound by using his vocals. His limited range actually works out really well here to really let these things shine. So this really worked out well for him. Now we take a look at the themes of the album and how the styles really played off it. And when you take a look at it, when the instrumentals went more with that pop punk flavor, they were more of a traditional pop punk style. When they went with more of an emo flavor, that more traditional emo style of the theme. When they went that Rise Against style, they really focused on more of what a Rise Against siren song's sound would have really sounded like. Taking a look at some examples, take a look at July, where you're realizing that you're like, people are trying to come back to you from a previous relationship, but you're better off without them. Take a look at a song like If I Had the Nerve, where it's you're trying to get up the nerve to leave someone or talk to someone or just stand up for yourself in a relationship where you're the one that's being maybe abused or maybe being left out in the dark. Also take a look at the Better Half, where you're just blinded by the infatuation of somebody, even though you really just are not, should be maybe not with them, and maybe they're just not the best person. Also, then we go to like that more Rise Against style with Dog Days, where they really focus on how in times of bad times, we tend to focus more on what used to be good instead of trying to make those good times happen again, so we get lost in that and we just never really make it out of there. Then when we go to We'll Be Fine, they go with this more emo style where it's, you're kind of going to be downtrodden, you're going to be depressed, you're going to get lonely at points, but you always have to remember that there's people around you, family and friends, that are there to help pick you up from that. So I really like this kind of style here. And of course, when it comes to the overall styles of the songs, yes, it really does work out well because when they focus in on the core sound that really fits with these themes in terms of that pop punk emo and more Rise Against style flavor, it really does work out well because they match the themes perfectly with those sounds, and it really does work out well with that overall inspiration. So this was actually really well done. Okay, now time for my overall rating of Dog Days by Expecting Perfection, and that is... I'm going to give the Dog Days an 8 out of 10. So an 8 out of 10, there's got to be stuff I liked about this album, and of course, the one thing I liked about this album was the fact that the band was able to range those styles a lot, especially with that loose base of a pop punk style. And what they ended up doing was, again, they ended up focusing on a little bit more of that pop punk flavor on a song like June Live, a little more of that emo flavor on like We'll Be Fine, and then even bringing more of this classic polished punk Rise Against certain songs of the counterculture inspiration on a song like Dog Days. But what really worked out here was the fact that when it comes to figuring out who Expecting Perfection is, with this EP, you're going to know what their core sound is, but you're going to see their ability to draw out and just go many different places and experiment with their style. They understand the construction behind so many of these, and these songs sound fantastic. Even with longer intros to these songs, just the way that they're built really sounds just absolutely incredible. I'm absolutely a huge fan of how this worked out for them. And when it comes down to really like, oh, is this band gonna be a good one? Yeah, this EP absolutely shows it through the construction and the concepts that they really went with in terms of their overall inspirations on their instrumentation. One other thing I like was the fact that they took that Rise Against inspiration, of course it's my favorite band, and really understood how it worked out, especially on Dog Days. When you took a look at it, of course they brought in the rougher tones, they brought in some more of the melodic bass, and they really brought more of this like polished punk tone that Rise Against really uses. And the biggest key was you can't really screw this up because it's so well known, especially within more of the rock community. And what they end up doing was they end up really understanding this. They end up being able to transition from one part to the next, where the chorus was going to be harder, where the verse is going to be a little more elongated, where you're going to end up building up with this rougher tone as well. And you're going to have this blaringly in-your-face style outro that just absolutely worked. It was fantastic. And of course, with July being our pick for the song of the summer for 2020, that more pop punk but also kind of more drawn back flavor at the exact same time as well, really did work out well for the band to really create this fantastic song that would have worked out incredibly well and been a huge hit if this came out back in like 2004 in pop punk's heyday. Plus that line, well, I'm not sorry that you cheated, I'm just sorry that he's not me. Oh my God, that is one of my favorite lines I've ever heard in a song. It just works so well, and it is a huge standout point for that song too. It is like the selling point for that song, and I'm absolutely floored by it. Now, is there anything I dislike? And if there's really anything I dislike, again, it was the better half and how just that transition from the verse to the chorus just really didn't feel natural. And again, I'm nitpicking this because in the chorus, we get this new mix here where the drums get a lot harder along with the guitar tone. They play with more of this melodic and heavy tone overall. And this one throws me off again a bit because that switch, it just felt forced overall from a different style with the verses and with a more metalcore inspired drumming and some faster pacing guitar work. Again, it's just much more highly distorted at this point, to the point where this just doesn't feel like it fits in with the overall verse. Again, I absolutely like the fact that they tried something completely different, and it does work out, but it's just that transition feels so forced that it just doesn't necessarily work out well for me. So if there's anything I dislike, it's that. Now time for my final thought. Of course, when it comes to my friends that are expecting perfection, I was a little nervous with this EP just because it is your debut EP. I'm not sure what to expect. I was hoping for something as good as what July was, so I was hoping it was going to be the precursor for it. And my hopes were absolutely correct. But it was even better than I could have possibly expected because, once again, when you take a look at their core sound, it has a loose style and that pop punk flavor. However, they're able to experiment so much more, going with more of a full-on pop punk flavor, bringing more of these tones, really bringing it a little bit more back, they'll make it a little bit more downtrodden at the same time. Go with a little bit more of an emo flavor, really bringing more of this polished punk Rise Against Siren songs, the counterculture style vibe to the song Dog Days. But how they were able to understand the construction and the patterns behind all these songs and really make them work out for the best was really the key here. Luis's vocals really not taking over too much, but just really amplifying what the instrumentals were doing here was an absolutely fantastic move because that is the core here, and it really does just let this EP flow. When you're trying to figure out if this band has a lot of quality behind it, you take a listen to this 5-song EP and you absolutely know they do right from the get-go. So when it comes to expecting perfection, yeah, listen to this EP and keep a watch out for them because this was fantastic. On that note, that's me from you guys. Thank you for watching and listening to this EP review. Also watch our podcast episode with Expecting Perfection, which will come out the day before the EP releases on February 26th, will come out February 25th. And watch us talk all about it with the band. So thanks for watching. This is Kevin, the MSOTV Rocks YouTube channel. And with the hat flip. Nope, but see ya.